Hi, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home.
Not mine. They're yours. You take them.
Mike, today is our last rant before the madness begins. Of course, that's in reference to the draft this Friday. We're recording Wednesday night. Podcast listeners will see us or hear us on Thursday. Any huge trades that could be happening, we're gonna at least talk about what would be fun to see, how we want to use that first round pick. We won't be live until after day one of free agency, so we'll talk about our hopes and dreams, and
man, Performance Art says we aren't doing shit. I can feel it. Just buckle up.
Coming in hot with the optimism. I love it.
We're 3 comments in. We're dropping our first curse word. Here we go.
Jim wants to know if we're ready for the July 1st insanity. I mean, across the NHL, insanity. Let's cross our fingers that something fun's going to happen for us.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And then Jared, thank you for the knocking us down a peg. Red Wings video wearing Tiger's hat. Poser!
Faux show. I
Give
like
us
the
a reason
winners.
to wear a hat, Steve.
Mike, you need a reason to wear a hat?
I wish there was one. Maybe
Did
a new.
You know?
Oh, what is that?
Mike, I want to cue this next thing up. I think this is kind of fun.
Is this going to be the new logo on the sweaters for the whole season?
Well, what I'm showing off for the podcast listeners is our brand new Centennial celebration logo. Mike, I honestly, I think this thing is, I think it's perfect in every way.
Huh. The wing is a little confusing. It looks like I cut it out with scissors. What's going on with all the little...
They brought back the classic look. I think they have it like all defined in like a landing page.
Just like a real bird cut out of construction paper. I like it.
The way you said bird was like Dr. Grant, like a bird,
like
where he's
like
describing
yeah. See the wings, see the legs, hollow like a bird. Dan B, welcome, saying Justin Hall extension incoming, and then Performance Art. We're more likely to see a UFO. Ooh, can I help you out on this one, Performance Art? Because I like the first half of that. Red Wings more likely to see a UFO than a UFA. Am I right, my man?
Oh!
Bang! Got him.
I wanted to share. I thought this was nice. This will put us in a good mood.
Can we see the 100-year thing again?
Well, there's an even better way to share it.
Oh no! Don't show the whole clip, please. Oh no! One of the game's greatest forward line combinations. This is the song and the clip that you play when they're moving the whole team to Canada. 100 years of Red Wing hockey comes to a close as Steve Yzerman's fired and they move the team to Manitoba. We'll say goodbye and good night to the Detroit Red Wings. Thank you for the memories. And then the 100's just on a tombstone.
I can't. It doesn't bother me that much. The video is really nice. I really like the music. I really love the logo.
It bothers me because they're not going to give us to buy jerseys with players. They're going to try and mine our nostalgia. Those evil bastards. That's what they're doing.
Mike, you get to look forward to this season an unforgettable lineup of experiences and keepsakes.
Oh, I was hoping they're going to say unforgettable lineup of NHL players trying to play playoff games. No.
Mike, these keepsakes will commemorate the 100 years of Hockeytown, which, if you think about it, Hockeytown's only been around since the 90s. Such as exclusive Centennial gear. Mike, you mentioned it before, a new uniform. I want to see that wing cream color. A season-long museum exhibit.
I've never felt less like creaming in my whole life.
Community rink refurbishments.
Rink refurbishments. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I hope it's a tomato gallery so we could throw vegetables at Steve. How about that?
Every hockey fan's favorite pastime. A book.
Oh, yeah, reading's back.
Oh, and of course, much more. Mike, I know where your head's at, but I could not be more excited for that uniform. I'm gonna be buying a jersey. I'm gonna be buying all the hats. My wardrobe will be Red Wings red and Red Wings cream and whatever I mix in between. It's gonna be beautiful.
The most annoying.
They got
thing.
me.
Look
They
at
knew
this.
I haven't been wearing Red Wings gear for the last 2 months, and they're like, I got them.
So
Jared,
the most disturbing thing as we try to pivot this episode into Red Wing draft, trade, and free agency talk is the timing of this announcement. What they're doing is letting us know we're not making any significant moves. So you might be a little crestfallen, right? You won't get to buy a new Red Wing jersey of your new favorite player. But let us allay those concerns, because instead you can buy yet another Steve Yzerman jersey in Red Wing cream color. Huh? How about that? Get some legend jerseys out there. So this to me crushes me, depresses me, because it's a declaration that we're not making any big moves. So buckle up for internal development. Hope you guys
give me
are ready.
those faux backs. Have you heard that before? A faux back? Because it won't be a throwback jersey. It'll be a brand new thing. It'll be fake. So it's a faux back. Jared wants to know, is this new book coming out a coloring book? God, I hope so. Jim throws out there, I live in Victoria, British Columbia. So the original franchise came from here.
Fun fact, the last time the Red Wings were good was in BC. So that's cool.
I mean, we just watched. You know what?
That was before
we just watched a video that proves that wrong, Mr. Man. Performance art, I believe that's called Truffle Butter. Dan B. Chris Illich loves to hear that Matt money. And Ketzel says, "Is
that him saying yeet or yay, Red Wings rant time?
Isn't that I feel like I learned that when I watched the new Ninja Turtles movie, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Quick shout out to Dave Aikman, our buddy on our Discord, who actually sent us this 2 days before the logo was announced, which I thought was pretty good journalism by Dave. But thanks, Dave. Just wanted to give you the shout out. This was my plan. The whole episode was, or before we got the announcement today, was to show this off and be like, "Ooh, what if this is the logo?" And then they announced it today. But still, Dave, you get your credit. All right, Mike, we haven't done anything, but Trevor Zegras, Mike, your boy, you've been begging for a Zegras trade. And Mike, the Philadelphia Flyers came. They came swooping in on their own set of wings. Took them away from the
what are the details of this trade?
Well, Ryan Poehling plus a 2025 pick, the 45th pick, I should say, and then a 2026 fourth round pick. If you took a look at like the JFresh cards, right? You could sub in a JT Compher and give them a couple of like matching up picks, like a couple of picks that match right up with 45th and a fourth round in 2026. You could definitely beat this trade. Again, just by subbing in Compher, Cop, in the Poehling spot. I say that. Maybe twist the knife a little bit, that this is super doable by us, and I would have 100% made this trade. But I also heard that no other team knew that
even put in an offer. Oh, that it was a Luka Doncic. Nobody knew he was available.
They knew that he was available, and he's been available for like 2 years. But this came out of nowhere, according to Frank Saravelli. So that made us all think that because Philadelphia and Anaheim had been linked for these last 2 years for this trade, that they were waiting for the right time. And potentially it was when Philadelphia had a coach who would welcome Trevor, which they do now, apparently. So there's also the idea here, too, that Trevor always wanted to be reunited with Jamie Drysdale. So those two boys are hooked up again in Philly. So I do think there's a very comparable trade. I would have 1,000% made this trade, taking
Same.
out Ryan Poehling, putting in Copper Comfer.
Yeah, I mean, I had, pukesters to my left, and I got pukesters to my right. Yeah. And they were saying that it was going to be a huge overpay because we'd have to include some sort of first, second round bundle and, a prospect you were excited about. And this is garbage from Philadelphia. Utter garbage. Fourth rounder, that guy will never even touch AHL. Second rounder, maybe touch AHL. Polling. The only polling I like is Amy, and that is not Amy. So give me Zegras all day. And I just all the arguments against Matt, you brought it up very succinctly in the Discord, but it's like most of the negatives were about the regime. And so they made a regime change. And it was like a different ecosystem that he's going to be a part of. And it doesn't seem like the talent is necessarily a question. It's just about what can we do with this guy's attitude. You're going to put him with McClellan. He's supposed to be, the guru for getting locker rooms together. So you're telling me this young kid would be averse to that? I don't know. We don't have scoring coming out of our ears. And would have been nice to throw 3, full diaper bags full of poop over to Anaheim for what I think is a still talented player. And I'm not going to be surprised if he has really good numbers for the Flyers. So I'm not too worried about attitude. I think that can kind of just be the environment, you're in, a lot like Matt, our fantasy player, Elias Pettersson coming home. I don't know. We have a string of history in this town of, guys we were a little scared of, and then we picked them up and turned them around. Maybe they were divas. Maybe they were, Rasheed Wallace. Maybe we thought they were, villains, and then they end up winning championships for us. So I'm not saying this guy's the final piece, but knowing that this was the asking price, insanity that we couldn't get in this.
Yeah, somebody made the comment where it was like Anaheim was waiting to make sure that they didn't get the low end of the trade. Like they wanted to make sure they didn't want to lose value, and they were like, oh, maybe they just waited so long that now they didn't lose value. This is just value now for Trevor. But yeah, for sure. I think there's an element here too, especially with the story from Saravelli, that I don't want to blame Steve too much with this. And just remember that a lot of things lined up here that the guys like Saravelli and Friedman had been calling out for the last couple of years, that Zegras and Philly made sense. So maybe it was like a Torts is out, Tockett's in, and Tockett's on board. And that's what the difference was. But Dan B throws out there, Pat Verbeek would never try and F his buddy Steve with this trade.
I mean, Verbeek F'd us by leaving us high and dry. What's up, bud? Now we're stuck with Steve.
Jared's got the real talking points here. This heat wave needs to kick rocks. Mike, my air conditioning broke on Monday. We didn't have any air. Awful. Blake, back in the chat. What's up, Blake? It's been a little bit, buddy. How are you doing?
Wow. Yeah, happy to see Blake. Very, very interested to see what kind of positivity he brings to what many of us are anticipating, an icy start to the offseason for the Red Wings.
Well, the rest of the show...
Jim Johnson, I don't want to, tread on your slide here, but just because we did bring up Zegras, did you have anything on Evander Kane?
My only thought there is just that. So yeah, Jim throws out. Let's pull up his comment here. Evander Kane for a 4th round pick. Canucks pick up Evander Kane, of course, from the Oilers. Oilers trying to make some cap space. What is that? That Draisaitl contract is going from like $8 million to $14 million. So yeah, they got to make that work. But I mean, I'm good. I never wanted Kane to be here. And yeah, the whole time, guys, I was when I was mad at Patrick Kane, it was Evander Kane who I didn't want. But no, I mean, we've talked about Evander Kane too over the years. It's just not something that clearly was going to make the difference in the top 6, playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the playoffs for the Oilers. If that doesn't make the difference, he's not going to make too big a difference anywhere else at this point. I think Evander's best years are certainly behind him. And honestly, I'd rather keep the 4th round pick.
Wow. Well, never mind, I guess. I thought there was a shot because he's on an expiring, right? This is his last year on his contract. Yeah, it expires. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, he'll be a UFA in 2026, 2027. So he would have had a 1-year tryout. Yeah, I don't know. He's a little interesting. He's a little physical. He's kind of the body type that we're looking for, right? 6'2" dude on the wing.
Yeah, but if it's an aging body, I don't need that. I mean, if you're gonna pick up a guy who's supposed to be a bruiser, like or not necessarily a bruiser, but at least play a little bit tougher, let's get a younger dude.
All right. Yeah, I'm not as sold on that one, but Jared, thank you for saying Kane will surely fix the locker room issues in Vancouver. Oh, thank you, Jared. An early bid for a comment of the episode.
Ketzel throw it out there. We've got the superior Kane anyway. Also, Ketzel, his best season was 57 points. Jim Johnson, Evander Kane is a head case. Good call out there.
I do. First of all, Chewy, welcome. We're always happy you're here, bud. Carman W saying Zegras can get his bromance going again in Philly. The city of love. Thank God Steve didn't bring him to Detroit. Carman, I just want one thing from you. Can you just expand on why? Because I thought it'd be kind of cool to give him a chance, and I kind of feel like if anyone could kind of professionalize him, it would have been McClellan. But I will let you digress momentarily while we move on to our next slide.
All right, we'll go over our draft strategy this year. We'll kind of recap what we've talked about. Obviously, we're going to be recapping a ton of trade targets that we've been talking about for the last couple of months, our free agency wish list, and also talk about this Prashanth contention window. I think I forgot to make a slide for it, to be completely honest, but 2026. So he's talking
every time we see one of these, Matt, it's another kick the can scenario. Well, not this year, of course. We can all agree it's not right now. It's sometime.
Nobody's ready to say next year.
Whoa,
right.
Easy. Let's
There's
put
enough
some
time
stakes out there. Yeah.
We're definitely past from day one of Steve Yzerman's start with Detroit. We're definitely past the first year we all would have said should. We're past that year, right?
How are we behind the Ducks saying, you know what, we want to make it this year. Enough is enough. And the Wings are, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Well, this is Jared's favorite way for us to do these episodes, is to have a little slide deck ready to go. But Mike, I'm curious your thoughts here. The number one priority here should be to trade for immediate help with that number 13 overall pick.
Please, this fan base is begging you, Steve. And it's not like a draft completely devoid of talent, right? Those guys will probably pan out, the ones around our pick. But it's like, we got to make some moves, bro. We can't keep waiting. This guy won't be relevant until, DeBrincat, Larkin, will be gone. We'll be starting to think about, Lucas Raymond's next contract. Sorry, it just had to come out. I can't help but, I guess, Rick and Morty burp there a little bit. But, yeah, I think that's priority one, is to not have the Red Wings make this pick. Please find a way to get some now help.
So that's not only up to Steve. Another team.
You got to have a willing trade partner.
You have to have a trade partner. So priority number 2, I would say I would handle it this way. I'm going to bring in the guy, Roger McQueen, who we talked about before, 6'5", 6'6". He's getting Tage Thompson comparisons, but with more speed. So he's got skill, speed. He's humongous. I would make my way to Roger McQueen if I had to in the draft. And the other player I liked was Kayshawn Aitchison, that we spent some time and showed off some of his highlights. The reason I would make my number 13 pick Kayshawn is that I think he's the kind of talent that you can bring in real quick. That's something where you can get him familiar with the AHL and bring his game that we are drafting, which is this bone crushing, bone rattling style. That could be great. I'm just going to say this, at least in my years of watching hockey, maybe I haven't coached and I can't really put a finger on and say this is what it takes, but I will say my years of watching hockey, I think that's the type of guy that you don't need a ton of time to develop. 1 year. You draft that guy in that number 13 spot, but also I'd take a look at trading back
But wasn't
as
Kayshawn
well.
probably too good to be there at 13? Because he just skates hard and hammers people, right?
I think he might be projected to be a little bit later, but we can.
I saw him. Maybe you saw something else. I saw him projected at like top 10, not like 9 or 10, like 9, 10, 11. So we like just both these guys. I'm really excited about, but I'd be surprised if either one's available at 13. And then yeah, but you and I have talked about, if you want a little bit of a risk, that's Roger McQueen, right? Because we know about his injury history. Scared everybody. So he went from a top 5 guaranteed. Now he might be available when the Red Wings are picking.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're kind of drafting body types and potential. So I think that's where McQueen comes in. I think you're right on Kayshawn as well. Just knowing that he's basically going to have, one job. We don't really need any offense from you at all. We just need you to hammer people. We haven't really had someone. I mean, I guess you could say Sider.
Yeah.
But Sider's got so much on his shoulders. It's like I don't want him to necessarily be that guy who's just running around crashing into people. I have all these other things that I need you to work on, like captain our power play, captain our penalty kill, captain our 5-on-5 against the other team's best players. So I can't have you having fun. You have so much work to do. I need somebody who's just going to crash into people. And I think that's where Kayshawn could come in.
Yeah, and on elite prospects, they've got Roger McQueen has consolidated between all of the different draft lists. He's at number 9, but then Kayshawn is number 19. Ooh. So we should have some room to pick up Kayshawn. But again, there's a mix of trading back too.
Oh, Jared going for a comment of the episode. Number 2, saying we already got plenty of offense coming from Rasmussen. Woo! Thank you, Jared.
So yeah, it's still like a strategy too. Like if there's NCAA guys that we can plug in at 13 that are available, like I'm looking for the path of least resistance to go from draft pick to in my lineup. Number 1 way to do that is to trade for a guy who's in the NHL right now. And then I'm looking at a couple other ways. Number 2 would be bring a guy who can bring a game that doesn't need too much development. Or number 3 would be let's hit up the NCAA and see what we got.
So Dan threw out a question, and I'm going to expand on his question. But he said, what would it take to move up to number 10 and screw the Penguins? So, because they get what he's alluding to is the Penguins get, their pick of the litter because they get to go 11-12. So they get two attempts at this. And we're drafting right after them. I don't know if you've really looked at 1 through 10, Matt. I'm just going to give them to you real quick. So try to just pick one in your mind that you think we could trade with based on what we have in excess and their willingness to trade. So Islanders will not be trading number 1. San Jose will not be trading 2. Chicago, probably not trading number 3. But looking at like Utah, Nashville, Philly, Boston, Seattle, Buffalo, and then the Ducks. Is there any feasibility, do you think those teams would be like, yeah, we could move down for Detroit player X. We could do that. So we'd be giving up 13 and, Red Wing position of strength to move up 7, 8, or 9 to try and get McQueen or Atchison.
Well, it'd be fun to have those like pick swap conversations with like you get into a trade with like Buffalo. Because of course we're going to talk a little bit later here about sneaking in for Bowen Byram or JJ Peterka. So maybe there's a pick swap, Mike, just like in the NBA. NBA's favorite thing to do is just throw around. Let's just do a pick swap. Pick swap. All right. So the rest of these teams, I think you're right. Like we're not sneaking into like the top 5. If we're doing that, then there's something huge moving. But yeah, I think Buffalo is a good target. And then I would come back to Anaheim, and we already previously mentioned Pat Verbeek. And this is, our boy could do us a solid, but they're also trying to win now. So there might be a win now option that's on the Wings roster, and we're going to hop and skip our way up, beyond the Penguins. Mike, I just, at this point, the Penguins can do whatever they want. I don't care. Let them pick 11 and 12 and get rid of that first round pick. If I'm making trades, that's what I'm focused on. Otherwise, I'm moving back. I'm just gonna fall back and see if I can pull in some extra second and third round picks, because obviously what's out there isn't working for Steve. If we're at that point, if we're at the table and we're drafting, just move back and take whatever you can, because nothing really is going to make that big a difference at 13.
I think I like your Anaheim idea with their declaration that we want to win now. The other team I just wonder if we could make a phone call to is the Flyers. Just if they're making Zegras moves and giving up multiple picks, maybe we can kind of refill your draft capital a little bit and give you a player to move up. I don't know. I like that call, Ducks or Flyers, see if they want to make a move. But I'm getting a few comments here on the mustache. Chewy says, nice stash. Stash mo, Mike. Just to offset Jared saying, anyone else think Mike's mustache makes him look like the guys that scalp tickets outside of Comerica?
Oh
no! It looks like I sell magic tricks at the mall. Shut up.
Yeah. Jared. You just gotta slick your hair back, like all the way back. You'll be that magician.
Yeah, there we go. And burner account Matt, how's it going? Saying late to the action. What's your thoughts on the ugly Centennial jersey logo? Matt creamed his pants over those. He his Red Wing and creamed his pants.
It came out Red Wing cream colored. It was beautiful.
Matt, for those of you just coming in late, my biggest issue is the timing of this news. Right before crazy season starts, right before free agency, right before the draft, right before when Red Wing trades would be, like, all that stuff. It's basically telling me we're not going to do anything. So that's why it made me mad. Yeah.
Let's do something.
Do something about it.
Trade targets on the defense, Mike. Here's how I broke this down, and this was just me throwing stuff at Mike. Like we didn't really work together on this here. This was just me going like, okay, here's some ideas. But the first idea is coming from Prashanth Iyer, who of course said or put in his couple of articles the last week here. If I were Steve Yzerman, he'd be trading for Rasmus Andersson. What did he do here? The Detroit first. Third, wait a minute. And Rasmussen. I was like, wait, just the first and third. Yeah. Now, we love Prashanth, Mike. You and I, we love his models. His analysis of data is fantastic. I think his ability to put a good trade together that Calgary would say yes to. I think Rasmus Andersson would be great. I don't think Calgary cares about Michael Rasmussen at all. I don't think that's going to move the needle for anybody. I think they just as likely take a first and a third and just move on. What are we getting Rasmussen
You keep your Rasmussen. We'll throw in a fourth for you to keep him. We don't want any part of that.
He also did a pick swap too. He did the Florida first for Detroit first. Pick swap. I hate pick swaps. I think they're so stupid.
Oh, they're fun. You got to get in on those. They're fun.
Noah Dobson, Mike, and we'll go over each one of these guys in a second here, a little more deeper on how they've performed over the last few years. Noah Dobson writes, of course, he's a restricted free agent coming from the Islanders. And I broke these guys down too. It's like teams trending downward, and the other group of defensemen would be teams that possibly need some cap space based on the conversations they're having with other teams. But yeah, so teams trending downward, just to recap again, Rasmus Andersson, Noah Dobson and his rights. Boston is going to be looking to making some changes. So I don't know if they're ready to do those right now, but Hampus Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov we'll take a look at. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily kicking doors down to get or Zadorov. Good gravy. I need some sleep. And then Mike, this name I've been throwing out since the trade deadline, and now Pittsburgh's throwing this name out there. I'm telling you, you know what? People are going to hate the trade. They're going to hate the trade. They're going to hate looking at Puckpedia.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to have fun watching Erik Karlsson in a Red Wing jersey. I'm telling you that right now. You're going to like it.
I think our group, I love them. And we agree 9 times out of 10. But on this one, this is the 1 out of 10. And I feel like, lest we forget how fun it was to have Ghost Bear. Because that guy didn't play any defense. But man, was he a blast on offense. So this is just kind of juiced up, expensive Ghost Bear. So I wouldn't hate that Karlsson move. The Dobson one just blows my mind. You don't find a lot of like defensemen who can put a 70 bomb on the board in one season. I don't know. That'd be a pretty sexy move. And it's Though I don't know if the holdup for the Islanders, as they go into this rebuild phase, is we don't want to pay a good player. Why the hell would they let this guy walk? That's insane.
Yeah, it comes back to that reasoning and how I broke these guys up with the teams trending downward. On Daily Faceoff, they're like, if I'm predicting
can I throw the number at you too? They still have like 20 million to kind of play around with. What are they saving it for? Oh, shoot. Yeah. Sorry, I lost the page for a second.
No, you're fine.
So, Matt, this is who they need to re-sign. Let me know if these are must-haves for you. Matt Martin, Hudson Fasching, Simon Holmstrom, Maxim Sapelkov, another huge get there. Mark Gatcomb, Tony D'Angelo, Matt Superstar, Mike Riley, and then Noah Dobson, Romanov. It's like you should be saving this money for Noah and then filling in the other guys on the peripheral. But hey, be my guest if you don't want to have this guy.
Yeah, this just kind of popped out of nowhere for me, but we've been talking about like targeting Dobson for a while, like especially at the trade deadline, we brought this one up. But yeah, it's the Daily Faceoff goes on with like, obviously this would be a great pickup for Detroit, but then they have plenty to offer, and they think that what the Islanders would be looking for right now makes sense with what the Red Wings have in their arsenal. So I mean, this is number 1 on my list. Personally, that's not what this sheet says. The sheet says he's number 2 on my list, but he is number 1 on my list.
I'd be more excited about this than Gavrikov or Ekblad for that matter. Unless they say ASP is you need ASP in that trade. Then that would hurt my soul. But this would be a much more interesting move than Gavrikov or Ekblad.
I totally agree with that. I think what you're picking up in the free agent market isn't quite as exciting as Noah Dobson, but it's just for this to pop out of nowhere and to kind of circle the Red Wings is like one of the main buyers on Dobson. I guess I'm going to put it that way. This is exciting. This is the one that turns my head. This is the thing that gets me back in a Red Wings jersey for these episodes. Now for Rasmus Andersson, for anybody not familiar, he signed through 2026, 6-team no trade list. 1 year.
I know one of those 6. It's an original 6. No, go ahead.
So he's out 1 year from being in the UFA conversation. And the Flames are sure he's going to draw a crowd too. They could even just hold on to Rasmus and let that price just continue to tick up throughout the year if they don't feel too confident about going to the playoffs. He's an all-around defender, excels at winning puck battles, jumps into the attack. He brings highly valued off-ice intangibles too. Wore the C for Sweden on home ice at the World Championships. I guess that matters to somebody. There are some minor concerns, such as his foot speed and his ugly -38 rating. I have a big block of StreamYard in the way of the rest of this. But Andersson is a major asset for Calgary to peddle, I think is what that says. I mean, yeah, these are two guys, though. I would say I want Noah more. I think I'd be not as excited, but pretty excited about Andersson. I don't think it puts me back in Red Wings gear, but I'd be pretty happy if this move got made.
Can you go to the player card for Dobson real quick? I just want to
yes, sir.
I
think this would be fun, like for the podcast listeners, if I just pulled this up and you just like looked at it for like a good couple of minutes.
We just, I'd have to get closer to my microphone, I think, for the Noah Dobson ASMR video.
You see,
we did have some pushback here for the Karlsson move. Kind of a fight. I like Jim Johnson's idea, saying there'd be some salary retention on Pittsburgh's side. I think that's a must
for sure. Yeah. Dan B throws out there Erik Karlsson and Asp together, hearts. Jared followed that up with Karlsson mentoring Asp. I mean, that's exactly what you want Axel to turn into. That's what you drafted. You're like, hopefully this is Erik Karlsson. It makes a lot of sense to me.
I would say Jim kind of tagging his own comment saying we need defensive defensemen, which Karlsson would not be. So he would still want somebody to kind of help cut down on goals against. Matt, does Dobson fill that hole, or do you feel like he's leans a little more offense as a defenseman?
I think he leans a little more offense, but that's like saying like 60-40. Because historically, his even strength defense is top notch. Like it's a 76% there, as you could see on the J Fresh card.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. If I'm Steve Yzerman in the Red Wings, I mean, this is a guy who you're not going to label as like a defensive liability, like Karlsson gets labeled as. I would remind everybody too that like part of the game you want to play with Karlsson there is that you're gonna have some risky plays. He's gonna win a lot of those, and you're gonna hang on to the puck more and not be in the defensive zone because you have Erik Karlsson on your team. We're having another like Shane Gostisbehere conversation, but it's who does Shane Gostisbehere wish he was as good as? You know, like the height of heights of his career. Oh, I wish it was Erik Karlsson. So
would you say that Rasmus Andersson is more of a defensive defenseman?
Well, we can,
or just less of an offensive defenseman.
I would say less on both sides. I would say if I was picking, if I could just grab one and put him on my team, I want Dobson. Just as less than Noah Dobson. I would pick Dobson for both of those. If you had a situation in your own defensive end, or you had a situation in your own offensive end and you needed a goal, I'm taking Dobson over Andersson on both counts.
I feel like Rasmus Andersson is kind of second round pick bundle, and Dobson is first round pick bundle. Fair.
I'm also especially a guy that doesn't value like first round picks, so
the rest of the league seems to think otherwise, Matt. And I mean, Dobson's, lest we forget, he's 25 years old.
Right.
Rasmus, if you get him, you get 1 year of him being in his 20s, and then he's going to be 30, and then you have another defenseman on the books in his 30s.
Well, you also with Rasmus Andersson pick up a guy on a 1-year contract. And if it's not working out, you've got a trade piece at the trade deadline, which is not fun to think about. And if Steve leans in that direction over a Noah Dobson, then you're kind of thinking like Steve's still thinking his team's not ready. And you're like, wow, great. A lot of confidence there, bud. But this is a lengthy conversation on just two guys. So I'm ready to, we got to pick up and go. So
no, I think that these are just interesting guys to focus on because they are exactly what we need. I mean, obviously Mitch Marner is winning the lottery, but that's not going to happen. So it's about us having to give up assets to get stuff. That's what these two guys are, and their exact positions of need for us. So,
and the other thing too, they're both right side defensemen, so that doesn't solve a lot of our Ben Sherratt problems, but we have needs all over the defense. But Hampus Lindholm is the guy I called out just a little bit ago. But looking at Boston's situation, is this something that we want to take on and give Boston some breath or some air to breathe and getting away from a 5-year contract? But I also look at a $6.5 million contract with the cap going up this year, next year, the year after that. This is going to feel like nothing, but certainly able to make a difference even.
Let me do this. We're going to do the next slide. I just want to do a quick blitzkrieg through some comments, so I don't want them to get lost in the sauce. Dan B saying, not much of a fan of the stash mic, but I'd kill for your Babcock-esque hair. That's the main one I wanted to throw in there. The burner account Matt saying, Jared, Carlson mentoring ASP on the ways of never playing defense. Well, yeah, but I can't harp on it enough, you guys. Remember how much fun we loved Ghost Bear? Just think of Mega Ghost Bear times 2. And then just tagging that, be happy if we get Gavrikov or Provorov in free agency. Both be a huge upgrade defensively. Chewy wondering, can we afford Dobson and Marner? I wouldn't worry about it, Chewy. We're not going to get probably either, but maybe one. So, oh, this was the one I wanted to bring up. 2 of them. So, burner account Matt saying Andersson is first round pick bundle. Dobson is multiple first plus territory.
My only pushback,
a guy without a contract, though. He's a guy without a contract.
That's my pushback. I mean, you have a good amount of ownership there with it being a restricted free agency or being a restricted free agent. But yeah, there's no contract there, so that's kind of where I'd
so the last one I wanted to hit you with, just because we know that the cap space is, something to just kind of be cognizant of. But Jim Johnson was saying Dobson, he heard, I haven't seen this number yet, looking at like 10. So he won't be getting that here. But can we afford to pay him before you answer, let me answer, because I know you're going to answer very quickly. Matt, can we afford to pay him cider money? And just taking a cursory look at the Red Wings' future, money-wise, this particular season will be not tight, but just something you got to be cognizant of. So we're going to have like 20 mil to play with. Next year, we'll have 55 million. So, Matt, I say absolutely. He can at least get cider money. Matt, what money do you got for Dobson? Being like not what do you think his price will be? Can the Red Wings afford to pay it? 1,000%. Yes.
Guys, the Vegas Golden Knights are the Panthers. They're talking about picking up Mitch Marner. Bring me talent to this team. I am not going to I'm not going to be concerned about money when I see the Florida Panthers put a team together that they just put together. And now they're like, what do you think, we can get Mitch Marner for 2 years? Yeah, we can do that. No problem. Like, we'll make it work. Vegas Golden Knights are just like, you know what?
We've got stuff around.
We've got a hurdle to get over to bring Mitch Marner over here, and it just happens that hurdle's first name is Thomas. So
bring him home. Yeah, get one of my boys.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, the good teams make it work. Like, I know we have to be realistic with like, can we afford this? Can we afford to do that? But like, Dobson's got the talent. Let's bring some guys that have talent and pay them. I don't know. I'm not concerned about that right now. Like, let's bring the guy over and let's pay some talented hockey players.
Let's actually, instead of just paying Steve's buddies to like be in upper management, let's pay somebody who's like read the like collective bargaining agreement. How about that? And they learn how to manipulate the cap space like good teams do.
Exactly. What surprised me was that there's still teams that are going to struggle with the cap, including Colorado. And I don't think Colorado is going to be trading Devin Taves. This isn't something that I'm like, I've heard this, like they're thinking about, but it's one of those things. Like at some point we need to like take a look at a team like Colorado and kind of push them a little bit. Like if you're going to have that conversation with the team that's struggling, make it work for you. Get your left side defenseman that's going to be there for another couple of years. But Devin's getting older. Colorado's going to be looking to make some changes too. And they're also talked about just like everybody else, top free agents are out there. They're like, well, the teams that were close to the Stanley Cup and or at least were cup contenders and didn't even make it out of the first round are going to be looking to make some huge changes. So,
while you gather your thought, I just had a quick a comment of the episode. Burner account Matt says the Wings will have $55 million to work with, but that's before Yzerman extends Comfer, and Rasmussen, a matching 8 years, $8.5 million per year. No, don't even breathe that into the world, Matt. Take it back. Delete that comment.
I love that. See, Jim says Moneybags Illich will put the squeeze on those bags. I still feel like we've talked about this before. He let Steve spend all the way up to having $2 million left on the cap last season.
It's a hard cap.
Steve's making the wrong choice.
It's a hard cap. It's manipulating it in a way that, you have good players on your team.
Now, for some reason, Mike, Bowen Byram always comes up on our lists, and we're going to be
our list
really
of worst
like, could you imagine if we brought Erik Karlsson over here? He's such a defensive liability. But for everyone and their mother, they're calling Buffalo right now. And they want this offensive, defensive, special teams liability, Bowen Byram, on their team, which I would also sniff around. But yeah, this is probably, I think this is the last guy on our list. We're going to cross off a name finally that's a reasonable left side defenseman that we know is available on the trade block. It's not the conversation where now you're a champion, but this is an upgrade over what you've got right now, I believe.
So what he's got going against him is most of that red on this J Fresh page. What he's got going for him is he would be a former Buffalo Sabre.
Exactly.
Which would easily put him in the Hall of Fame. Matt, sign me up.
All right. On the offensive side, Mike, you want to touch on this first name here, Steven Stamkos. You texted me about this one. I'm going to give you your time.
Oh, I don't have a lot of material for this. I just am interested in finding a way, please bear with me, to try and repurpose that Tarasenko contract. So what I was wondering is if there was some way we could throw in a draft pick and Tarasenko to Nashville, who's got to be a little deflated that they gave that bag of money for numerous years to Stamkos, and we try to reset Stamkos. So it's basically, we think that he was in a poo-poo situation, and maybe he'll be less like poo-poo playing with Red Wing forwards than he did with Nashville. So it's, we'd be paying more money, but I do think that Stamkos would probably, pan out better than Tarasenko will. So it's just a gamble because it'd be eating up some of our money this season, which would make it a little exciting. But again, our cap sheet's going to be completely wide open the year after that. So we could definitely afford the Stamkos experiment. So it's just, we're disappointed in our guy. They're disappointed in their guy. We're going to take those other years and we'll let you be off the hook for a forward in its 30s. So it's basically a gamble that Stamkos has something left in the tank where I think we all watched Tarasenko and he looks pretty cooked. He looks like chicken dinner out there, Matt. And the only comment I've seen is Steve said, I think he played better than he did. So I think that's his pathetic attempt to juice up his value as we get into NHL silly season here. Matt, can you stomach 2 more years? This season, if we trade Tarasenko, it's $4 million this season. That's the offset. So we're adding $4 million to our cap, and then 2 years at $8 million to do this Stamkos gamble. What do you think?
I like what you described. I'd go for it. Obviously, you're taking a huge risk there, but I'm going to pull this back up so we can take a look at. This is what gets me over the edge. Is that it's only for a few years here. And it'll be the end of his career. And we were also last year pointing at Steven and saying, "Oh, can we please sign Steven Stamkos?" But things. You have to look at the Nashville situation and circle that as this clearly just did not work. It's not that collectively everyone just decided to suck. It didn't work. And I think this would be a very welcome shakeup. I think the fans would have a lot of fun with Steven Stamkos. I don't think this is the move that gets me excited for next season. It doesn't. It's not the one that I'm like, all right, Red Wings gear back on. I'm streaking through the streets. But it would be something if that was the trade, and we're taking out. It's a Tarasenko and a Steven Stamkos, and probably we're adding something on top. I'm
I mean, we're eating money in years on that, so they just get to get out. They get to get out of their poo-poo deal first. Essentially, it's only one more year of Tarasenko, so that's the appeal there.
So we would have to touch on too. Jared, throw this out there. Jared's throwing out Kevin Weeks. I've got Pierre LeBrun right now. Pierre just retweeted Kevin Weeks. Among many items being discussed, this is Weeks, in the CBA negotiations between the NHL and the NHLPA, Greg Wyshynski and I can report that a potential change from 82 to 84 regular season games is among them. Mike, cap goes up. You got to pay a bunch of players. How are you going to get more money? I can tell you right now, it will be expansion of the season and then expansion of the playoffs. Guarantee it. That's next.
Yeah, I mean, these are, evil old white people sitting in a room just rubbing their hands together trying to figure out how to make more money on these guys. So, yeah, it's probably shame on us for not anticipating this with the cap going up, that what's going to go up? Well, you're going to be playing more too. I do like I think it was burner account Matt that said, just cutting the preseason down and extending the regular season.
Just give me 2 preseason games. I
don't know who those are even for. We go to Traverse City for a weekend. We got it figured out. All right, let's get these boys on the ice. Let's get out there.
For the hockey preseason, it's almost as bad as baseball, where you're just like, haven't these guys been practicing since February? Like, let's go. We're going to also play baseball for another 5 months. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is clearly the result of the fun we're having talking about all the salary cap space everybody has. But there's going to be teams that can't quite afford it. So got to expand the season.
Can I throw a somewhat concerning wrench in the Stamkos plans? Burner account Matt says Stamkos basically a PP specialist. Tee at this point. I don't think you can have him and Kane on the same roster and be a competitive 5-on-5 hockey team. The guy can't skate anymore while his shot is still elite. So can I just throw in one contingency to my Tarasenko trade? What if you end up doing that just because Kane walks away? Does that make it a little more feasible, or I guess, digestible for burner account Matt, maybe? And JWT, he's thrown in a couple comments, and I'm so sorry. We keep moving forward, and I missed a couple, so we'll do your latest one. Welcome. He wondered if 84 games will cause a strike, or if the owners realizing just how many of their players will get injured in the Olympics will cause a lockout. I honestly, kind of like what Matt was saying. I think this is just the inevitability. You guys want to make more money, well, you're going to play more games. So it's just that same evil garbage that the NFL's doing, where they want to make these players are basically going to war, and that's why they can only play once a week. They basically want to have NFL football every single day of the week somehow, and now they want to make the schedule even longer. They don't care about these players. They're just going to stand up and be like, you want me to cut checks? Well, then you're going to be my dancing monkeys and go out there and play more games. So that's what I would buckle up for.
Yep. Jim called out too, like, look at how guys were hurt after the Four Nations tournament. Yeah.
Breaking news. The 84 games is big, but Dan B says the Traverse City Prospect Tournament's in Texas now. Is that true?
Well, wasn't it like last year? Didn't we even not have a tournament, and it was just like 2 teams just played? Or am I wrong? Am I misremembering that? But they'd still go. They'd still go to Traverse City. They just wouldn't have their little prospect tournament.
They will not be holding it this year.
Cool.
That's a bummer.
All right.
Well, let's move on. Sorry.
So we've also got Robertson, Martin Necas, we've talked about in the past, is another one that Colorado's iffy on. JJ Peterka, we've mentioned today. And then, so I have this broken up as like the teams that want the cap space or making reasons to move guys. And then there's players that want out, which starts with, for me, is Elias Pettersson. But recent reports that came out today, just from Pierre LeBrun, where it's not happening. Elias Pettersson is a Vancouver Canuck for life. So we're pretty much talking about Marco Rossi, and then we can look at Isaac Howard too. But that'll be quicker. But yeah, the trade market on the forward side, just I don't know. I'm not as excited about it. So we talked about Stamkos, but in the past couple of weeks here, we've been talking about Jason Robertson. But this seems to be attached with what Dallas can do to get Mitch Marner excited about becoming a star. And essentially, like the conversation just depends on that. And then Robertson would be moved. So it doesn't feel like a draft day, like we're going to use our number 13 pick to get Robertson. It feels like this happens later. Maybe not even, if it is going to happen, maybe not into the season, like later just this summer. But I don't feel like the timeline's going to work out with this. I feel like a lot depends on what Dallas can get done when free agency starts or other trades they can make. But at least on some of the reports from like Saravelli and Friedman, even and Jeff Merrick getting in the mix there. But we talked about it too. Like, what are you moving from the Red Wings that keeps Dallas competitive? They get their cap space, but that you're not moving too much away out of Detroit. That it's not just like a 1-for-1. We definitely crossed off we're definitely not doing Lucas Raymond. Like that wouldn't even make sense. You have your homegrown talent, who I think is better than Jason Robertson, matched his production at a younger age. Boom, done. So you're taking that step beneath Lucas Raymond on this team. And is there enough talent there and like a DeBrincat that it's even worthwhile? And if you're trying to bring Patrick Kane back, is that one of the things that brought him over, DeBrincat? So what are you really accomplishing here?
I don't know if this impacts it enough, but does Robertson being a bigger dude than DeBrincat make that a little more, I don't want to use the word reasonable, but like if we're going to target people who can, still lead an offense and be a little bit bigger, because we know the Red Wings past couple seasons, they did have some guys who could score. Looking at Lucas, looking at Kane, looking at Alex, all little fellas. So does Robertson being 6'3" kind of help us out a little bit? If you have to include DeBrincat in the trade?
I don't hate that call out, actually. It would make me feel, I guess, let me say this. I'd rather have Jason Robertson on my team than Alex DeBrincat. But what does having Alex DeBrincat bring to this team? Is that a part of the Patrick Kane conversation? And then how much are you losing by saying goodbye to Alex DeBrincat? And then you have Jason Robertson on your team, who you are paying next season because he's got 1 year left on his contract. So you're one of the reasons Dallas wants to get rid of him. And think about, this is the franchise that's watched him practice, has watched him play. They are talking about getting rid of him because they don't think he's going to live up to whatever this next contract. They're going to say he's owed because of his production. Clearly he's going to be owed a certain amount. And it's like, we don't want to pay you that. And we also don't want to lose you for nothing. So that's where the trade conversation starts. But I would come back to the thought, coaches, management, look at Jason Robertson, and they're like, where this contract is headed is going to be a massive overpay. And that's what scares me.
I guess when we look back and try to assess how good of a job Yzerman's done, we've come to a consensus. He's done a a great job in the first round of selecting first round picks, like getting the most bang for the buck. As far as his trades go, we really value the DeBrincat trade, but wasn't the original like tributary in that river? Wasn't that the Tyler Bertuzzi trade, which was a really tough one emotionally, getting rid of Larkin's best friend? But it still kind of trickled down to, in the end game, getting a better long-term player. So I'm not like dying to trade DeBrincat, but knowing, he kind of led to us getting Kane and becoming Blackhawks light. That's a few of these off seasons kind of ran into each other. But does moving DeBrincat plus a little bit of stuff for Robertson just to get a bigger scorer that might ultimately be better for the franchise, even if you're a little leery of relationships around the league, because at some point it's like we worry about stuff like that while teams like Dallas and Las Vegas worry about how do we have the greatest team possible this season to win a Stanley Cup. So, I think that this would probably be a really good idea for us in the short term and the long term. And it's scary because we're so familiar with DeBrincat's highs, right? We also know his lows. Like every time we played bigger teams, it's fairy dust, man. He just disappeared. And it's not for lack of trying. He's just not a huge dude. So maybe that's where Robertson could kind of assert himself a little bit more into what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think you're winning me over. I would just my final thought, and we'll move on, would just be Dallas was like, all right, we can't do this with Robertson. Let's go get Mikko Rantanen, and we're going to give him $12 million a year. So I don't think we're ready to win a Stanley Cup next year. So maybe we're maybe we're just not that team yet. So we need to bring in Jason Robertson before we look for Mikko Rantanen. We need to graduate.
Let me do a quick comment blitz. We'll get back into your next slide. Brand new, welcome. Just saying, good summer times. 840 horsepower, Mopar power. I don't know if that's an ad or a handle there, 840 horsepower, but he said, I would suggest the Wings trade Rasmussen for a 6-pack of Two Hearted and a bag of pucks. Is that asking too much? Yes, you'd also have to include Rasmussen and a 4th rounder. Brand new, suggesting Rasmussen, Bergs, and a 1st for Robertson. That would be great. Who says no, us. Mike? Dallas does. Can I answer that? Dallas does.
Yes.
And then, oh, J-Dub saying DeBrincat is the team's best scout. Do you mean he probably means scorer? You really want to lose the only guy capable of bringing good pro players? Oh,
yeah.
Well, he's bringing in 35-year-old former Blackhawks. So he is the best at bringing in guys who were good 5 years ago. But maybe Robertson can bring in guys who are good right now.
Right now. A40 comes back and says, I wouldn't trade Cat. Build around him.
Ketzel, a green. Cat will retire a Red Wing. And then Matt, you get to listen to me butcher a last name. Max Pacioretty as a possibility?
Well, I agree with Jim. No.
That sounds like it might happen. It sounds like we'd hate it, and you just got to take your medicine, Jim. Take it.
All right, we'll continue this slide real quick because we've obviously talked about 2 of these guys on this list. Now this is trade, and then we'll get into free agency in a second. But Mike, could we trade for the rights to Mitch Marner so we could start some negotiating here?
We could. Yzerman would never do that.
First, ever. Give him pick 13.
Nope. Yzerman will not do that. What else you got?
Elias Pettersson and Martin Necas are also on the slide. I think, like I just said, we've talked this to death, and Pierre LeBrun is ready to bury Pettersson in Vancouver. So I think that ship has sailed, but it hasn't left my heart, Mike.
Gotta let it fly, man. Sorry.
Then there's JJ Peterka, Mike.
Another savior. Because Cousins is not an option anymore.
What does I did want to bring up and see. So JJ Peterka, the scuttlebutt recently, and this is like coming from Elliot Friedman and 32 Thoughts this week, was just along the lines that Buffalo doesn't want to have to do this. And it sounds like there's some notion too that Peterka doesn't either. But for some reason, they're both like, we gotta go. We gotta separate here. But Peterka, 6 foot, 189 pounds, right wing. This past season, got 68 points, 27 goals. What are we looking at? Previous season. I mean, it's not a big boy, right? We're just talking about a medium-sized boy.
Uh-huh.
I think this is one of those trades where I think a lot of people are circling it because it's a Buffalo Sabre, and you got to get those Sabres out of there. Make something. Let him make something of his life. Make something of his career. Get him out of Buffalo. But for JJ Peterka, this is one I'm gonna be okay letting another team find out what he really truly is. But I'll put it on the list and say if Steve makes the move to bring in Peterka, I don't think it's going to be a cheap ask, and Buffalo can't let it be a cheap return because of how many guys have left their team and have turned into pretty good producers. So they're going to want a lot back, and I would just be worried about how large that price is going to be. But if it was reasonable and Peterka came over, I'd be pretty proud of Steve for getting it done. And I'd be excited to see what this team looks like next year. You can see he can play both sides of the wing, is what Jay Fresh has on here. I would remind everyone that we could see Lucas on either side of the wing. So this is how I'm filling out my first line, is giving Peterka that shot.
This acquisition just reeks of a Nate Danielson trade. Like Nate Danielson, who looked less excited about being drafted by Yzerman, being traded for a guy who he's excited about playing in Buffalo, because nobody's excited about playing in Buffalo. So I think it'd be a perfect, like, two grumpy cats being traded for each other. So give me that all day.
Yeah. And I think we're all ready to get rid of that pick 13 too. Matt throws in there, pick 13, Nate Danielson, JT Compher. Ooh, we'll make some cap space. I like it. I like it. Whereas Jared's comment here, Tage Thompson looks like he was about to break down in a recent interview talking about how he's never played playoff hockey. I mean, these guys just want to get out of Buffalo.
I know. Well, if they try to come here, they're in the wrong spot. We also don't like playoff hockey.
Yeah, that's true. Not much is going to change there. I don't think JJ is going to be thrilled.
We got a new voice, Benjamin Kaiser. Welcome.
Benjamin's been around before.
Has he? Benjamin, You're an old voice. I take back all the pomp and circumstance. Right where you belong, at home. All right. So Ben saying, if Vegas moves out on Hertl, Matt, it's just me and Ben excited about Hertl the Turtle. He'd be interested for the right price. Matt, have you soured on the Turtle Man, Mr. Hertl?
Maybe it's just because it's new that news came out, and I haven't put my brain around it. But I'm not looking at that, and like that was a move that Vegas made as a team that's a Stanley Cup contender, and they're like, all right, now we're over the edge. It wasn't like the move. It's not the move that made them the competitive team they are, right? I want to pull up his J Fresh card, but for you, what do you see? And we'll pull up the J Fresh card.
I see a man who he's had like one awesome season, and then since then I think he would make me vomit as a Detroit Red Wing fan. Just I know that he I don't know. He's got a couple of 30-goal seasons to his name. He's not really like a big gunner assist-wise, so you're paying a lot of money to this guy. Is it 8.1 mil for Hertl the Turtle? Woo! I feel like they'd have to throw in a pick if we're going to help them usher in the Marner era in Las Vegas. That's a lot of money, dude. That's a lot of money on a Red Wing team. He'd arguably be like our fourth best scorer.
So I'm just hesitating here because I pulled up Hurdle, and he's labeled as a Carolina Hurricane, which JFresh gets all this stuff pulled in from other sites. Hold on. Did I miss something, or is this site just broken?
I'm still seeing him on Vegas. I don't see any huge moves here.
Oh, it's funny. There's rumors too that he would be moved to Carolina. Wow. So the rumor was that Hurdle might be moving to Carolina so that Vegas could make more room for Marner, who's already ready to come to Vegas, which would be hilarious. But it hasn't happened yet. Okay.
No.
So this
I don't
is just
see
a
any
broken
news for
site.
that yet. Yeah.
Okay, but we'll still share it here. Just but I mean, if it would work. But that was wild. I saw that and I was like, oh man, we're gonna break news twice here. Yeah. But no, we're not. No. But
I think the consensus, what's funny is the consensus in our chat is I thought that dude was just rocking and rolling, and he's just been pretty good in Vegas. Not like 8 million a season good. You know what I mean? Like
Hurdle?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was like,
oh, can you blow that up a little bit? Or it came in with the Excel sheet, or is that
that's the best I got. That's the best I got for you right now. It's not part of the slides. I just want
people to really see Hurdle's big cheeks because we have the same cheeks.
Well, that's a different image search. Damn
you.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, this was something that when Vegas made the move, even though JFresh has him labeled as a Carolina Hurricane, but when Vegas made the move, this was one of those like, oh, Stanley Cup champ or a Stanley Cup contender is really coming in hot with an important position that's hard to fill. Yeah. Mike, do we have a first line center? I'd say we do. Do we have a second line center? Sounds like we're going to give Marco Kasper a shot.
Yep.
So do I want to spend $7 million on a guy who's going to arguably be a center just somewhere in our middle six for 5 years? No, thank you. I'm respectfully.
If we get locked out of all the other free agent moves,
you're going for Hurdle and Stamkos. Stanley Cup, here we come.
Destroy our cap situation. And I guess if they retain a little bit of salary, maybe it would be less nauseating.
Next up,
but I mean, you'd have to find a way to move Confer. But anyway. Go
ahead. Somehow we managed to spend like 20 minutes on every one of these slides. Next up, Marco Rossi. This is just another like Marco Rossi wants out, but that's because he wants to see some real time on ice. He wants to own a power play. He's like, I'm the real deal. Send me to somebody who will respect me that much. 60 points in 82 games for a 23-year-old center. I don't hate those numbers at all, but I'll say this is like a contender for us to trade for, but it is not one that I'm like kicking doors in to make happen. If Minnesota was in the situation that Rossi just needs out and they can't get anybody else interested and Minnesota needs to just get him off the roster, then that's where I'd come in and see if I can make it happen for cheap. But again, this is a center that we just talked about.
How do you feel if it was like set. Rossi for Rasmussen?
Yeah, on a heartbeat.
Because, he's signed for a couple of years and that it's a reasonable contract. So we'd be paying more for more of a productive player. Do you think that they would be interested in that? A little security in terms of like having a guy who can play center?
I don't think they'd want Rasmussen. I think they'd want a little bit more. I think they'd probably come to us and say, well, you give us Marco Kasper and you can have have Marco Rossi.
Whoa, that's our future right there. You can't have him. You hit the door on your way out. Hope the door hits you on the butt.
Couple years difference in age. Just one guy was asked to do a little bit more last year, which would be the Rossi instead of Casper.
Quick comment blitz here. The thing I want from Vegas is their cap guy. No kidding, J-Dub. Good Lord, what a genius. I would love to have that guy. Like, I want to meet, like, he's their Jonah Hill and Moneyball. I would love to meet that guy. Got to throw Dan B's comment in there because he commented, my better hair. Thanks, Dan B. Big Ben Kaiser, who's here every single week. Just kidding, Ben. I'm just sorry that I called you a new person when you're not. Saying Hurdle can play the wing, and Brad with a bid for a comment of the week, saying Cheeks of the Week, brought to you by Red Wings Rant.
We could do that. We'd probably get higher ratings or more viewers if we did Cheeks of the Week.
Yeah. Or if we did Feed of the Week.
You already talked about getting rid of Tarasenko. This was a while back. I was trying to like drop Tarasenko. Cross your fingers that Pittsburgh would eat some of the salary. But I also saved this slide. Or I guess I should finish that thought. We would drop Tarasenko. Pittsburgh would eat some salary, and then Karlsson would come on over, and then I'd be more willing to give them a real deal trade for Karlsson. So yes, more things on top of Tarasenko. But anyway, the other part of this was rights to Isaac Howard. Just get Tarasenko into Tampa. Maybe Tampa can make it work. And it's either that or Tampa just loses Isaac Howard. So let's see what happens.
I think it's funny that at first I thought it was hilarious that Tarasenko was even mentioned in a trade value column, but now he's kind of there as like a lifeline for teams that are cap strapped and have long-term deals. Now you're just taking a short-term dumb contract instead of having your long-term dumb contract. And we get a marginally better player. So thanks. Thanks, Steve. Way to negotiate that Tarasenko deal.
Cooper Flagg is a Maverick, Mike, just in case you're wondering.
Shocking. They knew that the day before the Luka trade. What a bunch of baloney.
Mike, Prashanth gave us 3 free agent targets, moving on from trades, that he would do if he was Steve Yzerman. He picked up Nikolaj Ehlers. Connor Brown is a penalty-killing ace and bottom 6 stabilizer, which I could get on board with. And Nate Schmidt, 3x3.6, and elevating him from the third pair on a Stanley Cup champion to a second pair for the Detroit Red Wings to fill a major hole, as he's now etched his name on the Stanley Cup, Mike, and has lost all motivation to still be Nate Schmidt. Bring him on down. 3x3.6.
Woo. Hey, if we got any old school Lion fans out there, it's probably for Jim Johnson. Maybe that could be like our Damian Woody signing. You know, when we just started signing Rams and Patriots after they won Super Bowls. Remember that?
Now, first name, Nikolaj Ehlers. And got to point out, too, like Prashanth was paying him for 7 years, $9 million. So obviously years 4, 5, 6, and 7, that $9 million won't feel as bad as it does right now. But you would have to
see his production.
You would have to highlight here. Its production's not bad for the minutes.
No, in his age 35, 6, and 7 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But his minutes, Mike, are third line. And I don't call that out to say like, oh, we're signing a third line winger, $9 million a season. The problem I have with this and how his minutes are protected is that coaches are very selective when he goes on the ice. And he's gone through 3 different coaching staffs in his time with Winnipeg that have all made the same decision and have not given him the shot to be a first-line winger. Mike, he's 29. He's already past that point, too, where you will see an uptick in production. He's had his best season, and it will start to come down. I don't hate signing Nikolaj Ehlers, but I don't like labeling this as like this is the thing that gets us over the top, because there's a lot of gaps in what's happened over his career, him being almost 30 and Nikolaj being at that point where he knows he could make the argument in the room that is $9 million enough? Maybe I should get 10. And I'm just worried about all of those factors mixed together.
I think the way you sold him is that he's Jakub Vrana with a better publicist. Because Vrana was one of those. He's one of those darlings where it's like goals per 60. Oh, well, let's stop playing him 10 minutes. We'll play him 60 minutes a night. He'll be out there with the goaltender. So I hope it's not that bleak. It's just I know you're just concerned that he's kind of been nurtured in bubble wrap, playing third line minutes.
And people that are smarter than me and spend their whole they're paid to watch hockey would tell you oh yeah, this is a legit hockey player. To me, there's something about the narrative attached to it with coaches not liking him. Not saying he's uncoachable, just not saying they see the guy that they can put in any situation and in the most important situations. His competition, and we value, Mike, this J Fresh stat here on this card. We should say it's not a J Fresh stat. It's a stat that he pulls in from other sites, but on this card, we value so much when it comes to Moritz Seider. And we say he faces the toughest competition all year. And Nikolaj Ehlers does not. He goes out there against your weakest line and he takes advantage of it. So that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the thing that I'm jumping into free agency. And my strategy is, well, Mitch Marner is going to be hard to get. So I'm going to throw a ton of money and land Nikolaj Ehlers for 7 years. It just doesn't feel like the right move for us. I'd rather it didn't happen.
I think the most nauseating part is the length. I think rolling the dice on this dude for a couple years, like an Yzerman special, where he sometimes, I feel like it's only for the homegrown guys, sometimes can trick these guys into taking market value pay cuts. And so maybe the AAV can't come down, but maybe we can just get it to a shorter deal, 2 or 3 years. Hey, dude, maybe then we'll pay you when the cap really explodes. So maybe we can seduce him that way. But...
And that I love. That if this contract could be got for Ehlers at a shorter term, I am much more willing to do this. But yeah, it just seems like it's a long commitment for a guy that hasn't convinced. I'm not, again, not writers, not analytics guys. He hasn't convinced an NHL coach yet that he belongs on a first line. Just throwing that out there, guys. Food for thought. Connor Brown, Prashanth mentioned, let's shore up the bottom six. Let's get a penalty killer in there. I do like that 89%, 89th percentile in penalty kill. Obviously, we need some help there. Just judging it by that short-term contract, bring him on down. Why not? Yeah, give me some Connor Brown. Bring on down some Connor Brown. All right, and then Nate Schmidt. I leaned in pretty hard on my feelings on Nate Schmidt when I introduced this. So the best team in the NHL. He got third pair minutes. I think he's going to get paid a little bit more than he deserves. I think he is an upgrade on this team.
Yeah.
It can happen, and I'm totally cool with it. I am not streaking through the streets when this happens, but I will be like, cool, we've upgraded over Ben Sherratt, hopefully, if the guy's still motivated after winning a cup. But, it's competition, bottom of the league, that he would be put on.
Are you guys watching this lighting situation, by the way?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Crisis averted. Nate Schmidt, this should be the last move made before the day before the season starts if he's still out there.
Thank you.
This is, if I can use another NBA analogy, because I know you love when I do cross sports. This is like when people would leave the Denver Nuggets after playing with Jokic and get huge contracts, and then they're complete jabronis. It's like this guy's just in the Panther system, so I'm just on your coattails with that comment. Same thing. There's no chance in hell that I would want this guy in my second pairing. None. Zero interest. Boo. Boo this man. Boo.
Now, Jim reminded us earlier that, one of the guys that he could be upgrading over, which I don't know. Maybe not. Hall will be on the right side. But 2 more days of the buyout period expires at 5 p.m. Eastern. Hall better be on that list. 100%. Jared throws out there, really getting annoyed. Hall is still around. Dude has no trade value. I'm curious if he's just going to stick around because GMs hate admitting when they've made the wrong move and they can't get an asset back.
Yeah, I don't know if like Chris Ilitch is just like, hey man, you picked him, you're stuck with him, make it work, because that's going to be what, just a sunk cost.
Yeah, you're going to spread out his. I think I might have a slide in here, but from 2 weeks ago episodes with how much he's still going to get paid, but you're going to spread out the last year into a couple of years and cut it in half. But it's not, I don't mind paying a little bit just to get him off the roster. JWT, Justin Hall, 8 years, 9.4 million, full movement.
God damn it.
But yeah, Dan B calls out no more 34-year-old plus guys. I'm begging you. Why would we want to buy him out? Just send him down.
He's eating up valuable cap space. I don't know. I mean, you could put him on waivers. Nobody's going to claim it, but I mean, he's also taken up valuable minutes from a minor league guy. He's wasting everybody's time, whether it's the minors or the NHL level. I think that's the biggest concern, and we could reallocate those resources somewhere else, like the minutes for. I almost use the word training. Just for minor league guys. I don't want them losing minutes to Hall. And he should not be at the NHL level, and he's killing our cap. He's 0 for 3. Yeah, Brad, thank you for saying that. Was that Prashanth Iyer who said top 4D, just roll the dice on this guy?
Yeah.
No, that is one of your worst that's maybe your worst hot take ever. Boo. Boo.
To Prashanth. Yeah, not Brad.
We're not booing
Brad,
the player.
you're right.
Schmidt as a number 6. I'm sure there's worse number 6s. As a number 3 or 4. Boo! Hate it.
Do you want to be competitive? Do what the Stanley Cup champions do. You don't bring in the guy who's the third pair defenseman and say, "Oh, you're the second pair. You're getting older." Absolutely. Show us what you got. You've won a cup. No more motivation. Second pair, please. We can't forget that there are human beings here. Okay, Dade B. Don't forget. Cap hit for Justin Hall doesn't appear in the AHL. You can't bury it. It sticks on the NHL roster now.
Oh no, I was worried about him eating minutes too. I hope I said that enough. Yeah.
No. That's what I just wanted to call out for Dan B and Ben. Jared threw that out there too. I would just call out like the buyout. I don't mind paying the buyout. I just want Hall off my team. So I think valid point. Just send him down and pay him and make some roster spots. I'm fine with that. You either pay what, $3 million this year or little under 2 for the next 2 years. Get him off my team any way possible. Okay. Mitch Marner.
Man, you thought winning the draft lottery was a long shot. Try to convince this guy to play in Detroit.
Well, so I was listening to the Athletic podcast today.
Yeah.
And they think that
was Boltman on there?
It was Down Goes Brown and Sean. The other Sean.
It's okay. I just wondered if Max was on there. It's okay. Yeah.
Argument was, based off the scuttlebutt, is that championship contending teams are offering Mitch 12. If Steve came in with 14, that's Mitch's decision. You want to go to a championship team?
I just clutched my pearls. Heavens. $14 million. Oh, heavens. Oh. I'm in.
Yeah.
That's all it takes is a little overpay for a UFA to be our savior?
Let's do it.
Consider you know what? Those pearls clutched, my friend. You come right in.
Mike, would you do, I think somebody was saying you could go up to like 18 mil. I'm not sure if they meant this year or next
Holy
year.
mackerel.
Would you do 15 for like 2 years?
I apologize for everyone for whistling into the podcast, but if anyone can fit it in the books, it's your Detroit Red Wings.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying, like, we got the room this year. That's before like moving Tarasenko, moving Hall.
right. And we haven't done.
What are we doing?
We haven't cracked Andrew Kopp over the knee yet to put him on LTIR. So we're
I
gonna
don't
have
think it's
plenty
going
of
to
room.
require that. I think one hard sneeze and he'll be out for 6 months.
It's so wild to me, like how we operate right now as the Red Wings, and like Vegas right now put out like a press release like Alex Pietrangelo might need surgery.
Okay. Wait.
You know why?
No.
So that he
Don't.
can go on LTIR. They could pick up Mitch
God
Marner.
damn it! Where's that guy in our room? Damn it!
That's what blows my mind about the NHL right now is it's just like we aren't worshiping Vegas enough for being so crafty, putting out a press release.
Somebody just took a pair of safety scissors to Justin Hall's ACL. I don't know, or it's his Achilles. I don't know what happened. So I guess we got a little room now. That's pretty cool.
Yep, him and Halliburton will be hanging out at the rehab clinic.
That is insanity. I'm trying to think of a really good comp for that, but it's like, Mitch, you're in business. You're in business for yourself. Do you want to be just another guy on Vegas, or do you want to save an entire franchise?
Yeah.
And we're going to make you the highest paid player in the league. And you get to play with, I know they're not great, but they're our best players, right? So that'll be exciting for you. This fan base will sell out every fucking game. You're going to see 20,000 Marner jerseys every single night. How does that feel, huh?
Mike, if we get Mitch Marner, I'm buying a Mitch Marner jersey.
You know what the worst part about it is? Is that when you try to go to Little Caesars Arena, Google Maps is going to be confused because they're going to rename it Marner Avenue. How about that? Woodward Avenue is like 200 years old. It's going to be renamed Mitch Marner Avenue. How about that?
Do it. Mike, I promise. Mitch Marner jersey. I'm getting whatever that new fangled Red Wing jersey is. I'm going to put Mitch Marner on the back of it.
I'm getting a home, an away, 100-year one. And
listeners, they're coming your way. We're going to get extra ones, and you guys will get one too. Like this is the signing, obviously, but this is the one that I get out of bed for. This is the one where all is forgiven for Steve. Everything he's done wrong. At the whole
7 years of this garbage, I don't even care anymore.
It's all forgiven.
It's all been building to this.
Yep. Here we go. It's already happening, Mike. 840,
whoa.
Come on, man. We're having fun.
No! 840 HP. Oh, no. In case you guys are not on the YouTubes, we got a cold take on Mitch Marner saying Marner wears figure skates. Don't want him. Team is too soft as it is. Oh, my goodness.
The only problem with that,
shocking.
I know what you're saying, 840. Here's the thing. We're too soft. We're also not skilled enough to score. We don't produce enough to get into the playoffs. There's so many things we're too, but this solves a problem. This checks a box for us. We have an elite skater on our team that can produce assists and goals. That we don't have on this team, and that is very hard to find, and there's a guy available. I think 840, I know where you're coming from, but there is not a Florida Panthers answer that we can create.
So I want to make sure that you're aware of this guy. Okay. Let me make sure I got these years right. Is this right? Has he been around this long? My God.
Yeah.
Jesus.
9 years.
Yeah. All right. I just want to go in order. So 61 points, 69 points, 94 points. And then he had 2 seasons where he had some boo-boos. So we had 67 and 59 games, 67 and 55 games, and then 97 bomb, a 99 bomb, an 85 bomb, and another season where he had a couple boo-boos, and then 102. Good Lord. I know you might be a little scared of, he's not the perfect player, but there aren't a lot of perfect players on Earth. And instead, if we get a guy who electrifies his fan base by scoring goals and having point production every night, it just makes everybody's lives a little bit easier. And we've talked about, man, what if the Red Wings had upper echelon talent? We feel pretty confident that they have guys who could make can I say this and don't jump all over me, but do we have guys on our roster who could make a playoff bottom six? Forward-wise.
Yeah.
And our difference is we just don't have the top six. This would be one of those playoff top six guys.
It's like, yeah, we have 12 guys that could make up a bottom six for the Florida
playoff
Panthers.
Bottom six.
Okay, no, you're right. We have 3 guys probably that would make up a Florida Panthers bottom six.
But I mean, man, this guy Lucas and Larkin, that would be that's insanity. That's an insane first line. That is insane.
Mike, do you know how many Stanley Cups I'd win in the NHL game if I had Mitch Marner? I'm kidding.
No, I just listen. You can do mumbly grumblies about, he's not a hard-nosed player, but I just there's no perfect hockey players. I mean, maybe there's Datsuk, but there's not a lot of perfect players in the world. And you're going to get a guy who's really, really good at making pucks go into white nets. So that would be an incredible get.
And 840, like, there's the conversation, and you know what? I think Jim asked it too about the discussion of a power forward, and like I would take it that step further and talk about, like, when you're going to get those playoff performers like Sam Bennett. And so you have to get in the playoffs
trickle down thing. It starts with superstars.
Yes.
Right? You can have those kind of guys who can score 40 points and just hammer the other team, and you don't get mad at them because they're not playing above their weight class. You don't need them on the first or second line. Like, I know Sam Bennett plays on the second line minutes, but I'm just saying, like, his matchups are different, so he's asked to do different things. We saw last year that Andrew Kopp, he finally recovered from core surgery, and before he got hurt again, he was a productive member of society. That's a guy who could be productive and, maybe not as good as Sam Bennett, but in that similar role. It's just we were asking him to be like, dude, you're our only defensive stopper. Also, we don't score very much on 5-on-5, so we need you to score. We know you don't really score. I know, but nobody scores, so just go out there, score some goals. The whole fan base is going to hate you because we're paying you a lot of money, relatively speaking, to the rest of the roster. I know it's a whole thing. Okay. Oh, and you're hurt again. Well, we appreciate the successful couple months that you had in the 2024 season. But those guys, they're under a different lens when you have a superstar like Marner. It's a different lens. We want that Red Wing. Please don't kill us, Jim Johnson, we're not trying to be pro Reagan, but we just want Red Wing roster trickle down for talent. Really good. So then the other guys can kind of slot into their roles a little bit easier. And Marner would really be a champion for that.
Yeah, you'd have to take a look at how, like, Sam Bennett sees the fit he brings to the Florida Panthers, and that's why he's going to be there. I mean, Brad Marchand is like making the choice at the trade deadline where he was going to go, and he goes to Florida. You're not going to get guys making the choice to bring in the power forwards that we're talking about, to bring in those playoff performers, until we can actually make it to the playoffs. But I think I'm not, you guys know, but I'm just making the argument that a Mitch Marner signing and bringing in the elite talent, that, I don't know, as much as we want to say, like, he's soft, I mean, the guy gets Selke votes. Nobody else on this Red Wings roster has gotten a Selke vote in the last few years. and Mitch Marner finishes in the middle of the pack of all the Selke vote getters. Like, this guy's not terrible. He's not like deficient, like there isn't like a on the defensive side, like he's going to hurt us. It's just, this is the type of skater that's so hard for us to find and for any team to pick up. And I get it. Like, what do we do? For some folks that are going to tune in, they're going to be like, well, yeah, of course you want Mitch Marner on your team. The rest of the NHL does. But I realize how far-fetched this is. I still label this as my number one. I'm buying jerseys day one. I'm forgiving Steve Yzerman for everything, where everything else just kind of feels like, all right, I guess we'll be fine next year.
Listen, there is validity to 840 horsepower saying blue line over figure skater. Okay, I wouldn't call him a figure skater, but I understand that you're trying to say defense over offense. But it's like worlds of difference open up when you get a superstar this big. And I guess there's a couple other in here that I was going to say. Oh, there's just some more commentary about getting like the Kanes and the Marchands, and I really don't think, man, I can't harp on it enough. I don't think those things matter as much until you have a superstar. Can we just look not even down the street at the exact same building where, yeah, it's great that you had beef stew on your team, but all those like physicalities and getting in people's faces and, none of that matters until you're in the playoffs playing playoff games. And none of that happened until they had a superstar in Cade Cunningham. I think that's just like the perfect counterexample. Beef stew was a Piston for years before that. That's how he earned his extension. He is that kind of guy that, the Red Wings could use some beef like that, but the beef doesn't matter if you don't have the Cade, and Marner would be the Cade.
Tigers have Riley Green and Skubal, arguably Cy Young winner already and potential MVP
all-star
votes.
Outfielder.
Yeah. All-star for sure.
Yeah.
We have a few all-stars.
Yeah.
That are going to win by votes. Do you know how many all-stars the Red Wings will get by votes? Not many. I just, and that's silly, right? Like, we're going to say like, oh, if people appreciate it, that, because they get all-star votes. But no, I mean, coming back to even awards, like those are silly too. Like, not always the person who deserves it wins those awards, but this is, I don't know. To me, this one's a no-brainer. But Brand New does ask the question. I want to give a thought here. Brand New's picking Dallas for Marner. I'm picking Vegas.
I mean, we've seen the teams that are good at handling the cap. It's the Dallases, it's the Vegases, even my beloved Tampa Bay Lightning, Steve's old boys. Remember when they put the Cooch on injured reserve until game 1 of the playoffs? Whoops! Now he's feeling better. So that's where I would put it. I don't know if Steve's got the tomatoes to get Marner on a serious phone call.
I'm not picking us. I'll say that. But I am going to say my number one right now would be, I think Vegas is going to do everything they can to bring him over. I think Carolina makes a lot of sense. Carolina's in that spot, which is so funny to me, like how close they've come, like to getting to the Stanley Cup. And they still have to play that game of like, oh, if only we could get that elite forward, like that's what everybody's looking for. And it feels like there is still like a select group of us as Red Wings fans that are like, I don't know, maybe if we had 12 Sam Bennett's.
I'm not saying I wouldn't want Sam Bennett on our team, but it doesn't make a ton of sense
right now. Right now.
Oh, we got a new voice too. Roma Sana saying, oh, I don't know what that is supposed to be, but I hope it's for those cool shirts by Sana. He's just putting a little reality in. Marner has no interest in Detroit. Thanks, Roma Sana. Actually glad you're here, but that's okay. Matt, the last thing before I do want to get back to your slides, but Klopsaw saying Sweet Baby Ray is the Cade. I don't know. It's not that I don't think Sweet Baby Ray is talented, but it's like Cade was not an all-star. He was an all-NBA player. So he was one of the,
Cade was doing
like
things this year that nobody else has done.
There's 15
in the NBA
players
in 30
in the whole
years.
league that make that. I don't know if Lucas is one of the 15 best overall players in NHL hockey.
Not this year, but I mean, Klomp's saying it's coming. I would just, yeah, it's one of those things like you hope, but I don't know. It would be weird to me to say like Lucas Raymond is going to be our Cade Cunningham, so we should, if Mitch Marner was interested, we shouldn't sign him. I don't know. Seems weird. And poor Lucas Raymond signing a 8-year deal for only $7.5 million. JWT says Raymond's hit his ceiling.
No, it's, I'm not trying to suggest that.
No,
I just
JWT's
think Cade doing historically awesome things like Detroit basketball wise, and even like all NBA is really hard. It's so hard that it kind of screwed over the Pistons, and I don't even want to get into it, but screwed up their cap. Now they have to pay Cade more as a mega max player. But anyway, we'll continue, man.
Well, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to say, like, I see Lucas Raymond as being like Andrei Svechnikov of the Detroit Red Wings. Like, for sure, Hurricanes fans love him. He's what gets them into the playoffs, and as far as they go in the playoffs, like, he produces. But even the Carolina Hurricanes right now are like, we need frickin' Mitch Marner. So, I mean, we've been talking, Mike, for almost 2 hours. We know there's a lot of decisions coming. Obviously, we haven't mentioned Gavrikov yet, so we'll just that'd be great. Okay, whatever. But
well, I mean, this doesn't happen very often, that a player this productive could fit in our cap situation, and there's things we could do to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
We would have to juggle the fewest amount of plates of teams that are interested. We don't have to shuffle off a bunch of players and, make trades where we have them eat cap for us and give away talent. We have the space.
JWT actually did come in after that and say, no, he's not kidding. Raymond hit his ceiling. Well, if you guys want to check out, we did our first round draft analysis a couple weeks ago. So we also gave a quite quick analysis today, but I think ultimately we still are hoping that first round pick gets shipped. But guys, we'll see you next week. We'll be hopefully talking about some great news. But either way, we're going to have some fun, because if nothing happens, Mike, I got to say, it's going to be a hell of an episode for us. I'm probably going to be pretty fucking pissed.
When the Red Wings sign Schmidt for 3 years, $9 million. They buy out Hall and use that money for Schmidt.
Every year, Mike, we have a signing that I've been furious about. I feel
that just baffles not just us, but the rest of the NHL.
Yeah, the rest of the NHL is like, what is Steve Yzerman doing? If we have another one of those free agency days, I'm gonna lose it. But you guys don't want to miss that.
Who do you mean besides Tarasenko and Justin Hall? And Kopp and Comfer and
Ben Sherratt.
I
remember making fun of the team that was going to sign Ben Sherratt, and then we had to come on. We had to do an episode the day after that.
Picking up a 90-year-old goalie and then trading for a 7-year-old goalie. And
how about just picking up every goalie?
I was just listing them under my breath.
All right.
Remember we picked up Jack Campbell? What the hell was that about? What happened to that guy? Is he still
Did
in the
his
AHL?
contract run out? What did he do? 1 year or 2 years?
Oh, that's a big move by Steve, letting Petrie's contract expire.
Oh, that's a huge win. Yeah, Jack's a UFA. That was so funny. I remember people like immediately like, oh, it's okay. He's not gonna actually be on the team. It's like, yeah, that's not the point, dude. This is our announcement today. That's the problem. Red Wings are coming out. Hey, we signed Jack Campbell. Woo!
I'm
Okay.
just really fascinated by J-Dub because our group, we are very protective of our local boys. And J-Dub thrown out there. I think he's a point per game guy, not 100. I don't know. I'm going to marinate on that, J-Dub. I do want some. There's a couple people. I think I got a message about Joe Veleno who told me he was going to be awesome. And I was like, I don't think he's going to be awesome. Like, he's terrible. I have some receipts that I've been saving in my back pocket. But I'll message some DMs shortly here.
Is he a Shark now? Who just traded
Oh,
for Joe Veleno?
he's on team number 3 this offseason, right? Was it Red Wings, Chicago to was it San Jose?
Do I really have to search Joseph Veleno? It didn't pop up on I do have to put Joseph Veleno.
Maybe he rebranded his name so that he would
I can't get
he's playing on Seattle.
Oh, that's right.
He's spreading his Kraken. There we go.
Alrighty. Well, good luck to Joe Veleno in Seattle.
Again, I don't hate him as a person. He's a fine person. He sent Matt a very nice video where you could see his clavicle, but
he's buck naked.
Everyone told me he's going to be awesome, and he's not super awesome. So.
All right. See you guys later. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, a very excited, happy episode.
If something wild happens, I will be here for an emergency pod.
Okay, I'm good. I'm on. I'm right there with you. Emergency
but if it's
pod.
Turtle the Turtle, we're coming on to throw up. Welcome on for Hurdle.
I don't know. Like, I felt like half the listeners were like, "Let's go with the Hurdle all the way."
Oh man, you guys need to look at his numbers again. You're gonna throw up blood just like I did. All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Flip it.